right. Yo. It's your boy H2O, your potential conditioner, and welcome to another episode of the New Balance Podcast. Yo, fam, it's so good to be back on with you today. Your boy has been in the shop. That's right. We chopping it, we're grinding it, we're getting ready for this next move. But I could not forget about you guys. As promised, I'm going to be bringing you quality content, life moving content, and it's all about all of us moving forward together. And like I always say, I definitely have one in the building for you on today, right? This guest that's on with me, it feels like a sister slash niece relationship. I've known this young lady for a minute. I know her family. We're all good friends, and I'm so glad that she agreed to jump on to be a blessing with you. New Balance Podcast. Show some love for my sister, Yasmin Petrie. What up, YP?
Yasmin Petrie McKinney now.
That's right. I'm sorry, Yasmin. Listen, see, that's what happens when you have older uncles, they act like they see now, right? So I'll take that. No, shout out to Micah. No disrespect. That's right. Yasmin
You
Petrie
know,
McKinney. That's right.
yeah,
That's
what's
right.
so funny is for some reason that like every now and then when I type in or like my name or something like on the computer, just like
Right.
mindlessly,
Right.
sometimes I do type in my maiden name and I'm like, where did that come
Where does
from?
that come
Like my
from,
name
right?
has changed like 11 years ago and
Absolutely.
sometimes it still goes
It
back
still registers,
to
right?
Yasmin Petrie because I was that for so long. So
For so long. Yeah. So let's hold on. So for the audience, let's get this straight. Micah McKenzie, that's my dude. No disrespect, Micah, man. I know he's out grinding, getting it. Appreciate you, man, letting your lovely wife be on with us on today. And since we're shouting out the McKenzies, can't leave out young Micah in the making, right? So, man, yes, he's getting so big. And I just love the whole family unit. I'm all about family and community. So we're just glad to have you on. Talk to us, Yaz. What's going on? What's been going on in life?
wow. Well, first of all, thank you again so much for having me on the podcast and just, just chat and chop it up and, just connecting this way. I just really enjoy like this type of interaction and to just talk to you, like we've known each other
Absolutely.
for such a long time.
Yes.
We're family. So it's
Yes, we
nice
are.
to kind of like talk on like in this stage of our life. Like I met you
Yes.
when I think I was like 18 or 19. So,
Yes, for
you
sure.
know, I'm almost 40 now.
Don't tell them. Yes, don't tell them. That now they gonna be
I'm
trying to
not
date
saying my
trade.
real age, but
That's right.
I'm just
That's
saying
right. Yeah, that's
it's been
right.
a long time. So, I am a mom, a wife. I'm also working full time and
Absolutely.
I'm on a journey of trying to just kind of create this life that I really enjoy doing what I love. So
Yes.
it's been a journey in
Yeah.
itself. Like when I say it's a journey.
Right.
Gone through many stages to even get to where I am now.
Hmm.
But everything has played into the next stage that came after. So I am currently just trying to figure out what my next steps are, but really just trying to make sure that I continue on this path of doing what I love that has afforded me the opportunity to be a part of special events in other people's lives as well. And I really enjoy that.
Oh man, for sure. As you mentioned, we've been knowing each other a long time, and knowing your family that you came from. I remember meeting you guys, and you, your brother, and your sister. Y'all are very, very talented. You do so many different things. So when we talked here recently, just the different things that you're doing and the ideas that you have, I'm not surprised by any of it at all, right? And what I love about it is sometimes when we see people, whether it doesn't matter, whatever stage they're in life, and if they're doing anything, it is so easy to assume that, hey, that's just how they've been rocking. But I promise you, if anybody doing anything in life, right, there is definitely a story behind it. And like any of the guests that we have on, I think your story is incredible and is so inspiring in itself because whenever you desire to do something or have a vision, we all know there is a press and a push that comes against you, right?
Right.
And the difference, I say it all the time, the difference between those that end up doing it and those that don't is just that fine line of where you push back against what's pushing you to stop. And so I think where I want to dive in with you is I want to talk about this season of your life. And you said it 11 years ago, your last name changed, right? And
Hmm.
I think that's wonderful, man. Marriage is a wonderful thing. And now, you're no longer Yasmin Petrie, you're Yasmin McKenzie now. And so you
McKinney.
are McKinney. There I go, just changing the last name on live TV, right? That's oh God help me. Anyway,
Okay.
Yasmin McKinney, right? And so now you have your own family. You've been a part of a family, but now you have your own family. Your focus is different, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things that comes along with the family is eventually, not every family, but a lot of families is, hey, we want to grow this family. We want to have kids. Talk to us about the transition from being a single lady, if you will, to becoming a wife and becoming a mom. If you were talking to a group of women who are desiring to be married and desiring to be a mother in the near future, what dimes would you drop on them in terms of giving them words of encouragement?
Wow, that is a really great question. Um, I would have to go back to thinking like who I was. I got married at 27,
Okay.
and I'm not the same person as I was back then.
Okay.
And I was also going through some different stages of my life of just kind of growing into womanhood as well.
Right.
So I would just tell the person if they wanted some advice on marriage is to um, make sure that they have a desire that's separate, like for herself, for the woman. I think that sometimes people have this idea of, when you become one, become married, that your dreams or your partner's dreams have to become yours and vice versa.
Right.
Now, in some instances, that can be great for some couples. They can
Right.
form that type of team and their dreams become each other's and they can push that forward. But
Right.
sometimes, like me and my husband, we're very different people, but we do have a middle ground, but it's not our, like how we choose to spend our time is very different.
Mm-hmm.
What fuels us is very different.
Right.
And it took me a while to just let that sink in that it's okay that I'm this creative and like to paint and bake. And he does not. He just likes to eat them. He just likes
Absolutely.
to eat them baked goods.
Oh my God, I felt a word on the podcast. That's right. My brother. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And it's I've had to learn to be okay with
Hmm.
that. And he
Right.
also had to learn to, kind of be like, well, I don't like to do it. So we had to find other things that we like to do together, right? But it
Right.
didn't have to be my dream
Okay.
to become his.
Okay.
And it's something that I've had to work for myself and to really take time for myself that is
Hmm.
separate from life, separate from family, and
Hmm.
give me moments where I can be just Yasmin.
Yeah.
And um, I enjoy spending time with my son and my husband, but there's sometimes where I just don't want to be any of those titles. And not
Absolutely.
because I'm depressed or sad or anything, but sometimes like it's a lot of pressure being in those roles. So
Absolutely.
I think that especially, as time goes on and, we're married even longer, it is important to have those things for myself that feeds back into me
Right.
without anyone else calling for attention from me.
Hmm.
So maybe it sounds a little bit selfish. Some people probably might say, but I feel like when you are feeding into yourself,
Hmm.
then you'll be the best person for everyone else around you. So I'm
Absolutely.
not saying that you need to just, sometimes it's what a trip, like a solo trip. Maybe that's what you need to feed into yourself, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe it's an hour a day where you just kind of take time and read a book
Hmm.
or, pray, meditate, or sometimes I come up here and I paint for an hour. Um, just to kind of release because I'm doing so many things. So many people are asking from me that it's like, okay, well, what is something that's going to bring
Yeah.
me joy outside of everything else?
Right.
And that's been the one thing that has helped to keep me centered. Whatever, and that activity changes, depending on what the day is.
Hmm.
That's how baking came into play as well, is wanting to do something for me. And I think that when you become a wife, sometimes, you get on this journey of wanting to, be with your husband and just kind of you form that life. And sometimes I have seen women kind of forget about their own dreams and desires.
Yes.
And especially when you become a mom, it's easy to go even further down that road.
Absolutely.
So it's not that you shouldn't focus on your family. I think that going into marriage, it's still okay to have an idea of what you want to do as an individual, as you create this new life for yourself with a
Okay.
partner.
Oh,
Um,
that's good.
so I would say that.
Oh wow! Listen, whoa! Listen, YP, that is YPM, brother. That is powerful. Yeah, let me make sure I get it right. YPM, that's powerful, and I want to unpack some of it because you said some critical things, and I think um, uh, it's already the cat's already out the bag. They know how long I've been knowing you and what age you are, so they know my age as well, Yasmin. So that's all good. I love my age. My
Sorry.
my purpose in saying no, sis, my purpose for saying that is I had the opportunity to grow up in a era where wife traditionally the role was totally different, right? Um, I grew up understanding there were a lot of women who didn't have a career. They were stay at home moms, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing
Right.
wrong with. I'm so thankful for that era because you get us, right? You
Hmm.
get your dad. All of those men and women, we appreciate that. But you can see the transition of history happening. You can see the transition of culture happening. I think it's important for you to make adjustments where adjustments needs to be made. So with that said is when you see or have that desire, it's important for you to have that communication with your spouse, right? So obviously, you and Micah have y'all have had to talk about it, or it sometimes the talk doesn't necessarily happen that way. It kind of comes in the form of you butting heads in the areas, right? Which
Hmm.
forces you to have to talk about it, which is a great thing. It's part of marriage. Don't think it's strange if you guys butt heads in areas. That's a telltale sign. It's like this is something we need to work on. This is something we need to figure out, right? And so I applaud. I want to shout out your husband for supporting you and encouraging you to be you and to have those times. I think it's so critical. I think because he's taken the time to do that, hint hint husbands, because you're taking the time to do that, he
Yes.
gets a better Yasmin or
Absolutely.
and vice versa, right? Thank
Absolutely.
God he wants to eat the cookies because I want to eat the cookies, right? So I ain't mad at the man. Let's keep baking, yeah, so he can keep eating the cookies, right? But
Right.
it's so important that we support each other. Now, obviously, you're woman, I'm a man. The role could be totally twist, right? Depending on who the individual is. But I want to abstract the principle out of it. And so this is also what I heard. Maybe there's someone who's more in my stage in their marriage and they have not done that, but they feel that, right? So I want to help give them some clarity on how they can do it because you've been this particular way, say 25 years now, but you feel almost a smothering on the inside that it's something else greater than just the roles that I have participated in for so long, right? And like I
Mhm.
said, it's no disrespect to anybody.
Right,
It's not
right.
even a put down on it, but because you have these desires, you need to investigate, right? And it's going to take you guys communicating, right?
Mhm.
And even you say, well, that's for marriage. It can happen to someone that's single. There was a way to be single 30 years ago, right? I'm not
Mhm.
saying that's necessarily the way to do it now. We all know if you're single and you have a desire to be married, listen to me. You should be working in your singleness if you're planning to be married. Why? One thing is, what in the world are you waiting on? Live life.
Mhm.
Go to school, right? Go travel, right?
Mhm.
Find the hobbies, right? Go do the things that you desire. So when the spouse comes, husband, wife, whichever situation, there are some things that has happened, right? Because you can wait, find the person of your dreams, the love of your life, but you have all these things you never did, and now you're married. That's a different type of responsibility, right? Because I know, like now, it's some things that for right now, it's just not for me to do in this season. Why? I have other responsibilities. It's not that I can't do it, but it's the timing of it, right? I have my youngest daughter, she's getting ready to graduate. Me and my wife, we're about to be empty nesters. Thank you. So we're entering into a different season of life, right? My wife is in a totally different season of life. I'm in school understanding the season that she's in now. And trust me, it's work. It's not anything bad, right? But I can't live and be her husband that I was 20 years ago. That version or that model, it
Mhm.
doesn't work or doesn't fit our life now. So she needs a new me, right? And
Mhm.
so those that are listening, I'm giving you permission. If you can't give yourself permission, go ahead and become the new you, right? And so
Mhm.
I really like that, Yasmin, that you guys you're finding, have found your sweet spots in those places, right? And I think it helps keep the marriage healthy. It helps keep the marriage vibrant. It keeps it fiery. It keeps it moving forward, right? Come on,
Mhm.
you've had stale bread. You don't even eat it. You throw it out.
Right.
You throw it in the trash, right? And we
Mhm.
have some bread. I don't know what kind of bread this is we eat today, but we bought it. I couldn't even remember when I bought it. Man, it's been in there in the cabinet for so long. It hadn't even molded. So I wrote 2017 on it. I'm waiting on it to mold. What kind of bread is that? We're not going to eat it. It's not good for anything. And
Mhm.
so it's the only thing it's good for is to be thrown away. And so if you're watching today, it doesn't matter if you're married, it doesn't matter if you're single, it doesn't matter if you're in a business. I'm talking to you, if you're a church leader, the principle applies across the board. Perhaps you may be a spiritual leader, right? With this climate that we're in, if you're trying to do ministry the way we did ministry 20 years ago, I promise you, you're struggling with your congregation. You're going to have to throw that bread away and
Mhm.
make whatever adjustments that you need to make. And it's not a bad thing. Make the adjustment. Don't continue to struggle, right? So I
Right.
think I think man, that was a great piece that you shared because I heard so many different things in it, Yasmin. And I do my best on here because I am married. Of course, you'll hear that out, but it's not just the married state, it's the single state, right? We
Mhm.
know I have some viewers there, they're divorced, right? There are some that's wanting to be married. And then we have some that's just chilling, like, man, I don't want any of that. I'm trying to be the best me right now. So I thought it was cool that we talked because you were, like you said, I met you, you were a teenager going into this millennial stage. You were in college. And so from that time up into 27, you go through these different phases as a young lady, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's incredible because we have to take the things that we learn and then make them work for us in life. And that's
Right.
the good, bad, and the ugly, right? So I
Mhm.
wanna I wanna talk to you or have you talk a little about you talked about the wife part. Talk about being a mom. Talk about your son. I know that's your heart, that's your pride and your joy. See, she light up just like any mom when you begin to talk about um, your kids. And
Mhm.
when I remember we have our oldest man, and I'm dating myself. Last week, our oldest, she turned 30. I
Wow.
feel like, what in the world just happened? The young lady she turned 30 years old. Wow. And
Wow.
so I've been a parent for a minute now, for a minute. And we have the different phases and ages of it. And I know that's probably one of the things I'm proud of the most is being a father. Um, and I know my wife, that's one of the things she's proud of is being a mother. So talk to us about being the mom. Talk about Micah. I know moms now are challenged with the times, right? And I know your son, he's younger, but speak to moms that find themselves having to maybe redefine themselves as a mother or entering into motherhood in this season. Talk to us about that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Excuse me. Well, definitely I guess the way I became a mother was very different from other people as far as the birthing process.
Okay.
So being first off, I'll just say that being a mom is like one of the best things in the world. Like you're in a completely different world. Like when you're not a parent, you just have no idea. Like me and my coworkers, we joke around and say we were telling our other coworker that doesn't have any kids, like add this to your list of things that they don't tell you about being a
Hmm.
parent before you become
Absolutely.
a parent. There's so many things. And
Hmm.
nobody knows what they're doing. Let's just put
Come
it out
on. Come
there.
on.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
Come
No
on.
matter how good people make it look, they don't know
Right.
what you're doing. You might
Right.
feel confident, but you're always being thrown curveballs
Always.
all the time. And the minute you get used to one stage of their life, you're
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, I got this. It
Hmm.
changes. And
Yes, it
now they're
does.
in a new stage
Right.
of growth and maturity. So my son is 8, but I still am going through different changes as well. Like I'm seeing him, like his voice is deeper and like he's never had like a high squeaky voice, but it's so funny to see the change. Like he sounds like a bigger kid.
Right.
And he doesn't like the change either, but just learning to communicate with a child, like he's not a baby,
Right.
like learning what that communication looks like and
Hmm.
allowing him to express himself. It's been a really fascinating journey and experience, and also kind of scary as well because I'm raising a black male in
Absolutely. Talk about it.
society today,
Yeah.
and he's growing up in an environment that's completely different from mine.
That's
you
it.
know it just is, even from the minute we walk out the house. Like I just grew up completely different.
Right.
um and just what's going on in society in general and how black
Hmm.
males are viewed is just, it can be a scary thing, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we he's young, so I still have a little bit of time to kind of
Right.
work on that, so I'm not focused on that. But I think now that he's older, it's allowed me time to get more time for myself as well.
Yeah.
So bring coming like to my journey of just baking and becoming an entrepreneur and working full time. um I have more time to work on those things now,
Right.
because before I had him, I was going to culinary school, and I finally took like that one step, like for myself, to do something that I really love. And 3 semesters into culinary school, I found out I was pregnant, and it wasn't exactly planned, but it happened,
It
and
happened.
and to be really transparent, I was not happy about it. I was
Right.
not. I was like, man, I finally took the step towards something I really love, and now I have to stop.
Hmm.
And not saying that I had to give up school, it was the best decision because
Absolutely.
I was working full time. I had already graduated college at that point, but I was working full time. Me and my husband, we were already married. Um, but it was a lot. I was also going to school so I was going to work all day. I got home at like 5:45 ish, depending on the LA traffic, because that's where I lived at the time. And then I'd rush off to North Hollywood to go to the Art Institute for class by 7 o'clock, and I wouldn't get
Hmm.
out until 12:45, one
Oh,
o'clock.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's hot in the kitchen. I had a kitchen course that
Hmm.
semester.
Right.
And you know that phrase, if it's too hot in the kitchen, get out.
Right.
That's a real statement
It
because
is.
it would like halfway through the semester when I found out I was pregnant, it was so tough to get through those classes
Hmm.
because it was hot. I was on my feet. Like I'm feeling, just so all these things on top of the early stages of being pregnant and morning sickness and already not feeling at my best.
Right.
Um, I realized that my classes are not going to get easier
Hmm.
the longer I continue. So I decided to put it on hold, and I said I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it. But I thought that that would be the best decision for me. So um, I created like this little book of all the things that inspired me to get to that point,
Right.
and I put it aside, and I said, okay, I am not going to let my dream be put on the shelf.
I love it. Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
I'm not going to allow my dream to be put on the shelf.
That's it.
Like it's there now, but it's
Right.
not going to stay, you
That's
know?
right.
And so when you talk about adjustments in marriage, like that was another adjustment right there,
Right.
because I had to convince Micah, like, I need to go to culinary school. This is what I want to do. Because, and I'll just insert this real quick just about marriage. Like, he wasn't, he knew that I did that in art and things like that, but I don't think he really understood how serious it was to me.
Right.
So I had to work to get him to understand that this is what I really love and this is what I want to do eventually.
Right.
So so even though he supported me, you know, I guess as husbands, you're like, okay, well, it's not making money right now. So what are you
Bingo.
doing? You
Let
know,
me get up in the camera. Let me get up in the camera. You know we have a
it's just like
one-track mind.
it's
That's
not
right.
making money right now.
That's
So
right.
what
What's
are
the
you doing?
deal, right?
You know what I mean? So it's like I also wasn't doing those things as much in my free time. So to him, it wasn't translating.
Right.
So I'm up here upset that he didn't get it, but he's like, I don't see you doing it at the same
Hmm.
time. So that was going to culinary school was like, I'm proving to you that I'm serious here, but I'm also
Right.
proving to myself that I'm taking this step towards something that I want to do. So it's kind of like both things. Um, and then I just started to show him more, like just doing it more in my free time
Hmm.
to really get him to understand how much it really does bring me joy.
Right.
So I just wanted to throw that part in about marriage because sometimes, especially when you're married young, like you have to figure out a way to grow with each other and accept the changes because
That's
you're
it.
not going to be the same person,
Oh,
especially
you're
as you
not.
experience life
That's
and
not.
challenges like I'm about to talk to in a minute. Like you're like things will change you whether you
Yes.
accept it or not. And
Hmm.
you have to figure out a way to move forward,
Yes.
accept each other's changes because you as a person, you're
Yeah.
not going to be the same and your partner is not going to be the same. So as you both continue to grow, it might be a struggle to continue to put, what's the glue holding you together? Because there's
Right.
gonna be moments where it's like, we not vibing, we not
Oh,
getting each other. Like, oh, why are you doing this now? Why are you doing this now?
yeah.
you
That's
know,
it. That's the kitchen. It's hot. It's
yes.
hot in the kitchen. Trust
And
me.
you're gonna feel like you want to get out sometimes, but
Right.
I think that that's also the misconception too, in marriage as far as like there's a lot of people divorcing and everything nowadays. Now, I'm not saying that people should never divorce. There's some people where that probably wasn't the best partner for you, or
True.
that's y'all decision. You know what I mean?
Right.
But just society in general, um, a lot of people are quick to take the exit out because they don't want to they don't want to reflect on themselves
Mhm.
and what they bring to the table and what it's like to be married to themselves.
Oh wow, that's
And,
powerful. Yeah.
like not saying that some people, it's a very hard relationship to have marriage. It really is
It
like a
is.
long-term partnership,
Yeah.
you know. But it's just, I don't know. It's just really hard. Some people take the easy way out. Some people that's what you need to do to move forward.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But a lot of times if you just it's not going to be perfect,
Hmm.
but you have to figure out how to accept and grow, or allow the other person to grow in the way that they're growing, and
Right.
continue to communicate when you change as well, so that as the other person grows, it might be at opposite stages of each other,
Right.
but you're going to have to continue to come together and communicate and work and do things together or do things on your own so that it can still move through those challenging moments to
Absolutely.
again, kind of get to a better place.
Right.
So,
Yaz, I want to interject here. Like what you're saying is like it's every marriage, right? The only difference are the characters in it,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So that's what makes the situations different. So when you said that, I want to inject this here because I think it's important. The key, one of the main keys, there are some other keys, but one of the main keys is having your faith with
mhm,
you in those times. And the Bible talks about it, it refers to it as a 3/4 chord, right? Right. When you think of a 3/4 chord, your dad, he's a musician. So you know a good chord and you know a bad chord. And a
mhm,
bad chord, nobody wants to hear. But I don't want to think of it in a musical term. I want to think of it like a rope. So you can take just a regular rope itself and you try to do things with towing, locking it down, tying it. It's not very strong by itself. But if you take three of them and then you braid them, it has a strength that
mhm,
is
mhm,
just unimaginable. And what happens in our marriages when we have our faith involved in the marriage, we make that 3/4 code. So you think about this during that time, you're trying to figure out, man, hey, this is not like something I'm doing for the season. I'm gonna do this for a year and then I'm gonna be on to the next thing. No, no, no. I want to do this for life. I'm passionate about it. I love it. I should be doing it. And sometimes whether it be the husband or wife, but I can speak for the husband. Sometimes we just don't see it. We don't get it because
mhm,
we're trying to make sense of everything in a practical way. Like you said it, like, where is the money coming? That's what money, right? It's
mhm,
obviously if I'm balling out or whatever I consider balling and you can go do that and we don't need the money, okay, the guy, cool, babe, go do it. But when you're talking about the two becoming one, we need to talk about two incomes. I grew up where a lot of times there was one income, but nowadays, how we live, what we need, it's like, man, when you got two incomes, it makes things better. But
mhm,
when you go through those seasons, my point is this: think about having, think about, um, think about. I don't want to use that. This is perfect. Think about two powerful trucks, right?
mhm,
Two Dodge Rams, right? One's pointing north, one's pointing south, right? And you take this 3/4 code and you tie the two. Now, truthfully, that cord really should be used when one needs to be pulled or something needs to be pulled out. Talking about marriage, but there are times in the marriage where we take the thing that's used to help us and we work it against each other, right?
mhm,
But
mhm,
this is what's so powerful. Even though we're working against each other, because we have our faith intertwined, when we pull the opposite directions, all of that pressure pulling. I want to go this way. I want to go this way. But when you have your faith, it's strong enough to hold you guys together until you're able to figure out that you know what, we both going in the wrong directions, and we need
Mhm.
to get off the gas, right?
Mhm.
We need to get up out of these vehicles, and we need to come together. That's what you. That's what I heard you say, and I think it's important to bring that out because you're right. We're living a time where relationships are like movie premieres. It's like every other month, it seems like I'm in a new relationship, a new marriage. This it's like the thing to do, but we know that's not God's plan for our life. Trust me, it's going to get hot in the kitchen in marriage, and don't think it's strange. And it's not going to be just one time. You're going to go through seasons of it, but the key is having your faith as that threefold code. Because if you have that, no matter how much pressure and stress, that thing can hold you guys together until you can understand or figure out that wait, we're using this the wrong way. We're pulling against each other when we
Mhm.
should wrap it around us and pull us together. I
Right.
think that's very, very powerful. And then just apply it to you, man. 11 years, come on, man. Couples, just like you say, man. It's like, hey, whatever, it didn't work. But how long y'all just been married? 3 months.
Yeah, I know. And
You
I
should still
sadly
be
I
on the
have
honeymoon.
friends who have been divorced,
It's crazy.
And
It's
it's tough
crazy.
because, you know, it was a time where we went to so many weddings
Oh my goodness.
and,
Yes.
then it was the baby showers,
Oh
you know,
man.
and it's funny the different stages in life, and now like there's a handful of people that we went to their wedding and they're no longer
That's
married,
it's
so it
heartbreaking.
almost kind of hurts you too as a friend
Yeah, it
because
does
you
hurt
want
you.
to support them, but at the end of the day, people have their own private struggles that they go
Hmm.
through in their own home.
Right.
And even though you want them to work out, they decided to go separate ways. And that's their
Yeah.
choice. And we have to accept that,
Yeah.
but it's also hard too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's hard.
So if someone chooses to divorce, that's their decision.
Yeah.
But also too, just as a society in general, we're just used to this microwave mindset of, oh, if it doesn't work, okay, it's gone. You could just swipe the screen and
No,
the next. So there's that
no.
other facet of not wanting to do the work.
Oh man, that's it right there. You said it. It's work. You know, I didn't and I'm gonna date myself again. I remember back, you remember when you worked for Papa's,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? I remember we used to come in there, you were in there working, and we knew another young man that worked there. And he used to tell us some of the stories of what went on in the kitchen. I won't say them on the podcast, but the things that he told us, we knew that they went on in the kitchen, in any good kitchen anyway. But what I
Mhm.
love about it is we were out in the dining room. We never heard any of what went on in the kitchen. We never saw it. All we know is I was getting that Papa Do's platter with the
Right.
loaded baked potato. And listen, I've been eating there for well over 30, no, however, close to 30 years, and it has been magnificent all 30 years. Why? Because the people who are in the kitchen understand our responsibility is to serve who's out there. And I think that's the same thing in a marriage. It's,
Mhm.
trust me, it's hot. Sometimes in the kitchen, I wasn't supposed to put shrimp on the plate, but I did. Now I gotta get the shrimp off and I gotta put the scallops on. It's just work. And there are some times where you
Yeah.
disagree, right? It just happens. It's not abnormal. It's not crazy. It's not, no, it's normal. And I'm gonna keep saying it. We believe in marriage on this podcast. And I think the more that we can break it down and make it simplified so people can understand, man, you listen, you made that investment, get all out of the investment, right? And whenever we see it, I love it. I love it. I just love it. But that example of you when you will work there, there are days where you've been on your feet. Oh my God, your zone or whatever you have, two people didn't come in, so you're having to work their zone. Marriage is like that. It's
Mhm.
sometimes my wife, whatever the case may be, I have to step in and do some of the things that normally she would do, and vice versa. When I'm down or I'm out, I can't function fully. She has to step in. and be those things that I can't be. But the power of it is back to that 3-4 chord, because we're in it together and we have that faith.
Right.
Man, during those times when it's tough, I'm never worried about her checking out. I do
Mm-hmm.
understand she gets weary. She needs
Mm-hmm.
to be replenished. I do understand that. But in terms of her, like, going, taking the time card out the clock and saying, I'm checking out, I'm never worried about that. I'm not, and then for her, she doesn't ever have to worry about that for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not gonna happen. Now,
Mm-hmm.
has it always been that way? No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. But it's taken a lot of work, and it continues to take work, to do it. And I think I get these questions all the time. Like, I'm thankful I made 25 years this year of marriage, and like, man, how do you guys do it? How do you guys do it? I'm like, this is how we do it. So for you to share, that's it, to me, that's intimate information about your personal life. We need to know how these marriages are working. Doesn't matter if it's 3 years, 11 years, 25 years. I think your parents are like 40 something, or they're up there. They're
Yeah,
like what?
yeah,
They're in the
definitely
40s,
over
right?
40. Mm-hmm.
Yes, over 40, right? So we need to hear like the stories, like and not all the great times where, oh my God, he made me feel like I was floating in the field. We know, okay, great. What
Because
about the
it don't feel
times?
like that all the
Yeah,
time.
what about the time where you almost hit him in the head with a hammer? Talk to me how you didn't, what kept you from hitting him in the head and going to prison? That's what I want to know, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I think it's just good to do it. And I think we have, even though our perspectives may be different in the time, and then we represent two different eras, if you will, right? And that's the other thing that I like about this podcast. I know that we're the better when we have a Moses and an Aaron dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we need each other in so many ways. Like our marriage, we need what your marriage has in a younger marriage, right? And then I believe your marriage needs what we have. And
Mm-hmm.
I think together we're just better that way, right? We work, not perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not
Right.
perfect, but we're just better together, because it's like, okay, cool. This is almost a thing. And we say this when we're doing with the men. It's like, hey man, when we're in this meeting, we're in this Zoom, we're in this conference, we're in this summit. One thing I promise you, I'm not gonna bring you a bunch of make believe. When I come in this room with you, I take off my arm, I take off my body cast, and then I open up and I allow you to see the dents in my armor. Yeah, I polish it, but I can't get these dents out. These
Mm-hmm.
dents are in here for a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can ever know and understand that the person sitting next to you sometimes has some of the same dents, maybe in different places, it
Mm-hmm.
helps you get through life, right? And so just you sharing that, it's like, man, that's good to know that it's like, okay, yeah, yeah, I don't feel like being Miss McKinney today, but guess what? It ain't about my feelings. I am Miss McKinney, right?
Yeah.
And my feelings just going to have to catch up with it.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
think that's where it
important.
goes back to like what I was saying earlier is finding something like for yourself to
Okay.
keep like for yourself because you can still you're always, I'll still be Mrs. McKinney doing that,
Right.
but it gives me Yasmin. I'm still Yasmin at the end of the day.
Right.
So I feel like, when you take those two pieces, they're separate, but they still connect.
Hmm.
So you still have to keep that separate piece working, or else the other piece is not going to work either.
Right.
And for some relationships, at least for my
Right.
marriage, that one piece is him letting him play spades when he wants to on his
Watch
own,
out. Watch out. That's my dude on his
because
own.
I do not like the spades thing. That's
Right.
not me. And my thing is letting me paint and bake and let me do my thing. Now,
Right.
granted, I do, need some help as I continue to grow my business, but
Sure.
that's my thing. And that's what feeds me. And I am fueled by alone time
Sure.
and peace and kind of doing things that are creative. That's how I recharge. For
Okay.
him, he recharges around people. and spades and things like that. So
Okay.
because we are so different,
Mhm.
we have to continuously like feed into ourselves every now and then, but just
Okay.
remember, we have that connection, we have that foundation, we have that spirituality, that thing where we always come back to,
Come back to.
but
Okay.
we still have those things separately for ourselves that feeds into the individual part of who we are.
So yes, so can I say it this way? Is it
Mhm.
more to introvert, extrovert?
Exactly.
So
Yes.
like, well, in the beginning stages, I had never heard that term before, right? Didn't know
Hmm.
what it was, right? But it was great information when I understood what the two is. Now it gives me a certain, I can understand my wife better now because I'm like, okay, because she's this, these are some of the characteristics. These
Hmm.
are also some of the no-nos, right?
Hmm.
And now it can help me um, live with her, dwell with her, and know when I won't say it gives me a better balance. That's the best way to put it, right? Because when
Hmm.
you don't not for sure, and I think the same thing with her. Let's just say for instance on today, it's a Sunday. What's going to happen today? Yes, right. Like I'm talking about if your husband is into sports, what's going to happen on Sunday during the football season? He's trying to consume as many games as he can.
Right.
I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So early on in the earlier years, because we had our oldest, but she was a little girl. We didn't have the last two kids. Early on, my wife, I bought her a jersey, my favorite team. She would not every game, but when my favorite team was on, man, she whatever she was doing, she shut it down. She put that jersey on. Man, we have whatever we're gonna eat. She come and man, she was botching up the game, saying basketball calls for football and all that. I didn't care. I just love the fact that she was taking a chance to do something with me that she didn't do, and that meant the world to me,
Hmm.
right? But then as we begin to grow, marriage grow, she got to the point she's like, really, this is pretty whack and I don't want to do it, right? Even going to professional sport, I'm just a sports, would that matter? I'll go watch little league teams play, I just love it. She's like, not really. Even professional sports, like we'll go to a Texan Rockets. She'd be like, man, take you and the kids go. I don't want to do it. So over the years, it's grown. But my
Hmm.
point is this: she showed the initiative, and like the Super Bowl and stuff like that, she'll come be a part of it. To me, that means the world. So now I I ain't bugging out if she don't want to do it.
Hmm.
It's something I've had to learn. Now, would I love for us to get some season tickets? Absolutely. I would love to absolutely, but that's not her thing. So I'm
Hmm.
not going to ruffle her feathers about it. And then on the vice versa, the things that I've had to learn, right? The things that she loves to do. I really at the end, I don't like doing any of it,
Hmm.
but she likes it. That's the quality. That's one of her love languages. It's a quality time. So for me, it's like it gives me great points. I watch it. We do it. I mean, I've learned to enjoy it because that's what she loves. But just for me to do it, nah, I would never do it. But I had to learn over time, and because I understood who she
Hmm.
is, it
Hmm.
helps understand that. So when you said that about you doing this thing is doing this thing. I heard the whole okay, he's introvert, extrovert, and I think those things are important when you know. If you don't know, you're gonna keep stepping on each other's toes and feet. So
Yes.
it just helps you. Like that's just
Yes.
something I didn't know, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I didn't know, but when I knew, I got that information. It's like, that's why she responds that way. Or that's why she really doesn't. Okay, so
Hmm.
okay, it's almost like a woman like I like diamonds, and you keep buying her flowers. Like, bro, get your budget together and get a couple diamonds, homie. It's not deep. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's not deep. Like when you know it, just do it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's good, Yasmin. I think that's really good. and
Yeah.
that you push it. You say, all right, bro. I ain't trying to play no, not trying to play no spades, but I'm not
And there's
gonna
been
rain on
every
your
now and
parade.
then, well, where I'll kind of come and tag along and I won't play, but I just know that that's his environment.
Oh, that's a
And I'd
deposit.
rather be sitting at home doing something else.
I promise you,
It's
that's a
like
for
that's three
guys.
hours of my time that I could be doing something
I
else.
promise you, for guys, that's a major deposit. I can't articulate it to you what and how, but it just is major. You know the term we hear it. Oh man, that's my ride or die. With your wifey when she does those things, she ain't been more interested in. For
Yeah.
us, I know for me, when my wife does it, it's major. It's major because
But see, there's a time and place for that. It's like
right,
you want your partner to know that they're interested in some of the things that you like to do as well. You would
right,
like to share those moments with your partner.
yeah,
So I believe in those moments wholeheartedly. Like he wants me to come along more with him.
yeah,
It's just that sometimes I'm busy baking and I can't go.
can't go
Um, and every now and then I'll go with him, but I also know that that's more of his environment that I am okay with letting him have for himself.
right,
I just know that I have to work on um, balancing that time to where he's
yeah.
not always by himself doing those
Oh my
things.
god.
So that's
Um,
another thing to understand too, that it's not always him going off to do whatever he wants to do.
right,
It's just that sometimes he needs those times to be Micah as
right,
well, just like I need the times to be Yasmin as well. It's
yeah,
just that eventually we get to a point where we're doing some of the things, together. It's just we
right.
know also how to have those things like separate for ourselves too.
Oh, that's great.
Where it comes
Uh,
like for motherhood, like I think I really went off on a tangent. I think it was me. That's how we got to talking about what we were
no, no,
talking about.
no. It's trust
Good
me, it's
stuff.
all good.
But it's like when you become a mom too, like especially like a child always calls the mom the most for everything.
Yes,
And
yes, sweetie. I hope you don't see this podcast, but thank you, Jesus.
it can just be really draining.
Oh, I know it is. I know it is.
And as much joy as it brings me, it's also tiring to be a mom as well.
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at my own household. I'm not. I promise you, I'm not laughing.
Oh no, it's
It's
okay.
funny.
And
It's funny.
I had to learn what worked for me and
Hmm.
my family. And we're still learning, of course.
Hmm.
But especially too, like how I started off saying that I wasn't happy just yet about being pregnant
Right.
and I had to put culinary school on hold and
Hmm.
um I just wasn't ready for the next stage yet, because I knew that everything was going to change. Like the
Right.
journey that I had started for myself was now taking that fork in the road. And I didn't know what that looked like. Like I had a great
Oh,
mom,
that's wonderful.
I had
That's
great
good.
parents that were there for me, but I didn't know what that would look like for myself.
I like that. I
And
love that. I love it.
so there was actually one moment that changed. There was someone who found out she was pregnant, and we were kind of like along the same path. We were like the same um, at the same time. Like she was 6 months, I was 6 months, and she had a miscarriage,
Mm,
and this wasn't her first one.
mm.
And I broke down and cried after that, and I was just kind of talking to God, and just I was like, I am so sorry for not being happy about this
Absolutely.
because I was so like mad that I had to stop doing what I wanted to do and I finally got the opportunity. And then it's someone else where they're just yearning to be a mom.
Absolutely. Perspective.
And it checked me so hard.
Hmm.
I immediately broke down and I had a different perspective of
I love that.
what it's going to look like to even become a mom or just even appreciate life in a different way.
Right.
And that was a big moment for me. And then when I finally went into the hospital to have little Micah, nothing went as planned.
Right.
And I went in to be induced because I was at my due date, and I had an emergency C-section because his heart rate wasn't, I guess the term is not fluctuating enough, or it was dropping. I can't remember correctly, but it wasn't where it should be. So I
Right.
had emergency C-section, and after that, the next 3 weeks I was in the hospital,
Mm.
just fighting for my life.
Right.
And what I thought would be the next step for in life was motherhood. The next step for me was
Living.
living.
Yeah. Fighting to
Am
live.
I going to go home? That was really
Right.
a question. Like, I remember seeing the facial expressions of my family members or the nurses and the doctors, like nobody knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really hard time for me because it's like, man, like I learned my lesson of appreciating life from my friend that lost her baby at the same time, that I was pregnant. But it's like, now I gotta go through this too.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was really angry, like, while I was
Mhm.
in there, because I was like, okay, this is part of my story, and I don't know how I got here, but
Right.
okay, and it was just really hard. So I won't kind of like go into everything, but it was like I had a tube in my nose. I had an IV pick line. I had tubes draining from my belly because my belly was holding fluid, and my
Right.
legs were swollen. Like, it was
Incredible.
like I had pneumonia. It was
Ooh.
probably the most challenging experience I've ever been through. And of course, I was praying. Everybody was praying for me. Prayers were going up. Okay.
Right.
But at the same time, I learned another part of life, that you also have to fight for what you want. Right. So I took that as, okay, everything, like, okay, I believe that I'm going home. Right. Everybody's praying for me, but I'm still here hooked up to all these machines.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, okay, what can I do? So once the doctors and everybody else was figuring things out for me, and I had to believe that everything was going to work in my favor for me.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I just knew, and I said it out loud. I was like, okay, God, I know this is not how my story is supposed to end.
Right.
I said those exact words.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, okay. And I just made up in my mind that I was going to do whatever it took to go home.
Mm.
So once they figured out what was wrong and got the right medication for me and all these things, I was also at a point where I could barely move. Like, I couldn't even adjust myself in the bed because I was in so much pain.
Right.
But I needed to walk. I needed to move because mucus was filling up in my lungs, and I went, like, you need oxygen. You need to breathe.
Absolutely.
You need to
Yeah.
move. And I
You have to
wasn't
move.
moving.
Mm.
And they're like, you need to get up and walk every chance you get. I said, okay.
Mm.
It was hard. I almost fainted a
Yeah.
couple times, to be honest.
Mm.
I set up all the machines because my heart was beating so fast. Like, it took me about 5 minutes just to even get up on my feet to move. Like, I was barely going anywhere,
Right.
but I made up in my mind that, okay, if I'm going home, I have to fight for myself to go home
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like, I can't just
Right.
lay in here and expect everyone else to do things for me,
Right.
but
Wow.
I myself have a lot of work to do for myself. I
Absolutely.
have, I had like, now that all the medication and stuff is bringing down the swelling and the fever down, it's like, okay, but I need to breathe. Okay, so
Right.
I take the breathing machine, do it every chance you get. Make sure you're getting those deep breaths in. I
Right.
took walks every chance I could to get my strength back up.
On top of being a brand new mother, Micah
Uh,
is here now.
Micah's here, but I couldn't
He
see him.
see
But
wow
so in my head, I kept seeing the last picture that they sent to me.
that they
So I
sent to you.
started taking care of it.
Incredible.
And I'm like, I gotta go home. to
Yeah,
what you
fight.
want.
Woo. Yeah, man. Fight,
And,
fight.
so anyway, fast forward through all of that, that was a moment in my life that changed me forever, but also gave me the understanding that you also have to fight for what you want.
You gotta fight for what you want. That's it.
And God and people will be working for you, right? Without you, kind of being involved. But what are you going to do?
What skin
So
you gonna
I
put in the
took
game?
that upon, like, I think that's been implanted in my head from that moment
Okay.
that made me from that point on continue to fight for what I wanted.